Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some Entitled Parents. Our first story today comes to us from Responsible River 615. Wheelchairs are not toys. Let's jump right in. A bit of backstory: I am the mom of a wonderful son, male 9, who is dealing with a diagnosis of JIA, or juvenile idiopathic arthritis. It affects his hip joints primarily, meaning during flare-ups, walking long distances is a challenge. For these days, he has a custom manual wheelchair to get around, but he can still get up from the chair and walk short distances, albeit with a permanent limp. We live in a small town and regularly go to a great playground that has lower equipment he can comfortably climb. It all started when we pulled up to the park in my car and parked in one of the handicap parking spots. I do drive a smaller car, but a hatchback, and my son's chair folds up quite small, so it works for us. I park, place the handicap placard on my dashboard, and hop out to grab my son's chair from the hatch while my other two children, 14 female, 5 female, get out of the car. "You can't park there. That spot is only for people who need it." Opening the hatch. "Oh yes, I'm aware. However," she cuts me off. "You are walking just fine. So move your vehicle or I will talk to the park monitors and tell them." Hesitates as I lift wheelchair out of the back of my car and put it on the ground. "Yes? You'll tell them what?" "Never mind." Grabs Entitled Bratty Kid's hand and pulls them away towards the park. "Mom, I want one." Yes, foreshadowing, I realize now. So I get my son out of the car, into the chair, and we wheel him over to the park and get settled at one of the benches. He decides he would like to get up and use the equipment, so I let him up to play. He is maybe 10 feet from me max. I notice pretty soon that Entitled Mother is just a couple of benches over and is giving me the stink eye for the next 20 to 25 minutes. I stay with the chair and the bench while my son plays with his sisters, who are very protective of him. Entitled Mother gets up and starts to approach with Entitled Bratty Kid. "So your son doesn't really need the chair then?" "Excuse me?" "Well, I saw him get up and walk onto the playground, and he has walked while playing." "Yes, he can walk short distances, but due to some damage to his hip joint, he limps and can only walk short distances." "Well, now that he's playing, my son can use the chair." "I'm afraid not. This is a custom chair made specifically for my son, and I'd rather not chance anything happening to it. Plus, it's not a toy." I notice that Entitled Bratty Kid is walking around the back of my bench towards the chair. He reaches for the chair. "Excuse me, please don't touch the wheelchair. It isn't yours and it isn't a toy." "Don't tell my son what to do." "Mommy, I want to ride." Starts loudly fake crying and ran to Entitled Mother and grabbed her legs. "Now look what you've done." They, Entitled Mother and Entitled Bratty Kid, have created enough of a scene that my children have taken notice, as well as the community monitors who come over to my bench. "Excuse me, what seems to be the issue?" "Hello, sorry about all this. My son..." "Excuse me, I'm the one wronged here. They have a fake wheelchair, a fake parking pass, and her kid has a fake disability. My son just wanted to play with the chair, and she snapped at him and made him cry." Not a word of that is true. My son has arthritis, can only walk short distances, and of course, I don't want you touching a very real and very expensive piece of medical equipment. At this point, we are separated, with Entitled Mother and Community Monitor 1 going to her bench and Community Monitor 2 and 3 standing with me. My children start to approach to see what is going on. My oldest daughter helping my son navigate the playground. He gets back to his chair and sits down. "That's a pretty neat chair. Did you pick the color?" "It's fire engine red." "Yep, the seating clinic we got it at let me pick which color out of 15 different ones since they built it for me." "Well, the red looks great. It looks really fast." "Oh, it is. See?" Son starts wheeling around the paths, showing how fast he can go in the chair, steering around curves, turning around and coming back to us. "Mommy, he's allowed to play with the chair." Starts fake crying again. "See, now they're just showing off." Monitor 2 stays with us. Monitor 3 pulls Monitor 1 aside quickly and talks for 10 to 15 seconds. Monitor 1 approaches us while Monitor 3 remains with Entitled Mother and Entitled Bratty Kid. "We are sorry about this happening. Are you planning on staying at the park for a while longer?" To my son, "What do you think, bud? Want to play for a bit longer?" "I'm good. I just want to go home if that's okay." He doesn't like negative attention from his chair, so this wasn't a great experience for him. "Okay, looks like we'll be heading out shortly here." Okay, fair. We would be happy to walk with you to the parking area to ensure you have no further issues. Entitled mother starts sputtering, but it's fake. Entitled Bratty Kid realizing the chair is leaving. Mommy, you promised. Monitor 1 and Monitor 2 did walk us to the parking lot and apologized repeatedly, explaining that Entitled Mother was being issued a 14-day ban from the playground as this wasn't the first incident they had with her. As I was packing the kids in the car and putting the chair away, Monitor 3 approached with Entitled Mother and Entitled Bratty Kid following closely behind, Entitled Mother with a scowl. I hope you're happy. Not really, the afternoon was made rather unpleasant. Well, at least tell me where you got the chair so I can get one. Seriously? From the children's hospital, with a prescription. It took 5 months to come in. Well, I'll look around, they must sell them elsewhere. Well, good luck. It was subsidized through the hospital and still cost us over $3,000 because it's not a toy. Entitled Mother finally seemed to get it, looking quite shocked when I mentioned the price, and finally went quietly to her car, dragging a whining Entitled Bratty Kid behind her. Thankfully, we have used the playground many times since, and have seen the monitors who always seem to make a special effort to say hi to my son, but no more Entitled Mother, knock on wood. When they're just not getting the hint, can you not just say to them, hey, if you keep bugging me, you're gonna have a reason to have a wheelchair of your own? The community monitors sound like great people who knew exactly what was going on and handled the situation quite well. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from 47. My mom stole my inheritance and kicked me out of the family when I asked her to pay it back. Let's jump right in. My mother has me all kinds of effed up and I'm not sure if I should just walk away. Backstory: my 27 female, mom 53 female, has had a really hard life. She was in a car accident at age 5 and watched her own mother die. She didn't have an active father, and no one on her mom's side wanted to take her in, so she went into foster care for a few years. Not a good experience from what she told me. At age 8, she was adopted into a loving, wealthy family of 2 college professors, along with an adopted brother. She had a hard time adjusting, made a lot of bad decisions, and basically ran away in her late teens. This whole time, her adopted parents were doing everything they could to reach out to their daughter and help her get on her feet, but mostly their efforts were wasted. She had a child at 18, then again a few years later. She lost them to foster care and then had me with a different man. Eventually, she gets her 2 first kids back, my older half-brothers, has me, marries twice again, and has 2 more kids, my 2 younger brothers. In total, she has 5 children, 4 boys, with me, the middle girl. We grow up very poor, with our mother always gone or bringing back strangers to party, leaving me to raise the youngest 2. We would visit our grandparents, mom's adopted parents, for holidays and special occasions, but with my mother's strained relationship with them, we weren't able to visit as much as we kids would like. My childhood was crappy to say the least. That being said, I loved my grandparents, especially my grandpa, dearly, and they loved us kids back, and as much as they struggled with my mom, they were nothing but loving towards her from what I understand. The thing about my grandparents is that education was very important to them. I remember the encouragement for college started very early on from them, and they made it very clear that I was expected to go to college. When I was allowed to visit them, they would take me to bookstores and let me loose. They'd say, okay, pick one, and I would come back with 3 or 4 unable to decide. They'd laugh and get me all the books, which I could not believe. I took pride in knowing my grandparents thought so highly of my future and was determined to keep making them proud. Fast forward to 2005, I'm in 5th grade and my grandma passed away from long-term alcohol abuse. My mom has a wake-up call and gets sober, but is still absent from AA meetings and general disinterest. Then, in 7th grade, my grandpa passed as well from the same illness. This crushed me. I wasn't able to articulate any of it at the time, but that's when the big-time depression rolled in. From there on, school was very difficult for me, as well as my home life. I ended up falling pretty deep into my sorrow and stopped going to school around my junior year of high school. After a breakthrough, I decided that I had to get the heck away from that house and ultimately move out at the age of 17 to a bigger city about 45 minutes away. I barely finished high school with a 1.75 GPA, and somehow 2 teachers from the new school convinced me to sign up for the community college. They helped me fill out my FAFSA and everything. Side note, when I received my mom's financial info for that year for the FAFSA, I saw she claimed to make around $10,000 a year. That's how poor we were. After my first semester in college, I was hooked. Science was actually pretty cool. I realized I loved to learn and kept pushing through. I worked full-time, busted my butt, and after 4 years, I finally achieved an associate's degree. But that wasn't enough for me. I was able to transfer over to a university that I would have never been able to attend right out of high school due to grades and whatnot, and finish my BS in my favorite field of science. In total, it took me 6 years to get my BS degree, but I worked so freaking hard, and I was so proud of what I was able to accomplish. Keep in mind, during my whole college career, my mother was characteristically absent and dismissive of what I was doing. When I was in my early 20s, still at community college, she packed up her and my baby brothers and moved 5 hours up north. I didn't have a car and couldn't come see them hardly at all. I was upset by this, of course, but that didn't matter to her. She eventually moved back a couple years later. Anyway, I graduated college with $40,000 in college debt. Not so bad compared to most, I always thought. I knew that I would have to work hard and accrue debt to get where I wanted in life, so this was a necessary burden and I've accepted that. However, things have turned in recent events in my effort to get closer to my late grandparents. I reached out to their close personal friends, let's call them the Johnsons, to get a better idea of what my grandparents were like. They were so close that the Johnsons were actually the arbiter of my grandpa's will. In conversation, it came out that when my grandparents passed away, they left a $150,000 inheritance for the grandchildren's education. However, 3 years later, around 2010, my mother came to the Johnsons and confessed to them that she blew all the education money. On what, I have no freaking idea, but I do remember her buying a 2-door sports car, our only car for a 6-person family, after Grandpa died, so I'm sure the rest of her purchases were great investments. This was really upsetting to me for many reasons. I was the only grandchild that actually went to college, and that money could have easily covered my expenses. If I had that money, I wouldn't have had to spend every moment for 6 years busting my butt. I could have afforded to only have 1 job instead of 3. I could have spent that time studying and getting better grades, or done an internship, which literally makes or breaks your career in my field. I wasn't able to do any of that, and haven't been able to get a related job. Not the worst thing, but unfortunate. I have a fine job in tech that I wouldn't have been able to get without my degree. I'm plenty happy with my decision. My relationship with her was already strained, but this really crossed a line for me. I emailed her telling her I knew what she did and she needed to pay me back. That's probably not going to happen. She owns a small business in social media and it doesn't do that great. I kind of want to just cut ties forever, but I'm so angry I also want her to pay back the money she stole. I am so out of my depth, I don't know what to do. Well, OP, if you're not really willing to take your mom to court, there's not a whole lot you can do there, but you can definitely cut her out and never talk to her again, because you don't need toxic people like that in your life. That is a lot of money though. I'd see if you could find a lawyer that would take it on contingency and that they get paid after you win, because in this case, you're probably going to win. Our next story today comes to us from ULFR. Ma'am, your child is ill. That's not allergies. Let's jump right in. The floof insisted we go to the park today just like every other day, but on this fine day, there were 6 dogs in the all-dog side with 10 people and 1 child somewhere between 6 and 8. I happen to think this profoundly irresponsible to do, as there are dogs moving around at max speed who weigh twice as much as the kid, but that's not my circus. Then I noticed the little girl was playing with a pail and shovel in the dog park sand. I realize children by default are walking plague vectors, but that's above and beyond that particular call of duty. My floof is less concerned with hygiene and likes kids, so he ran over to say hello. He got a face full of sand for his trouble. While this was not ideal, I didn't particularly care. He's an unrepentant back kicker after doing his business, and turnabout is fair play in my humble opinion. I still walked over to referee because 1 face full of sand was enough. Then I got close enough to the kid to see her eyes. They were bright pink with a lovely yellow crusty ring along her eyelids. Nope. Anyone who's given oral antibiotics to a dog who considers any sort of pill to be poison will understand how little I wanted my floof to get conjunctivitis. I called him over and we went through the gate into the empty small dog area. This did not please the little girl, who ran over to cry to mommy about not being able to get to the fluffy doggy. So mommy comes over and goes to open the gate to let her little girl in with us. "Excuse me, ma'am, please don't open that gate. Your daughter is sick and I don't want my dog to get sick." "What do you mean she's sick? She's got allergies. She's fine." "I understand she might feel fine, but that's not allergies. That's pink eye. Please do not let her over here." The mom found this hilarious and walked away from the gate. As she's walking back to the man she was talking with, she shouts, "Hey man, this guy thinks my girl has pink eye." She looks at her daughter, who is rubbing both of her eyes with her balled up hands. "Hey, girl's name, you feel sick?" Little girl affirms that she feels fine. One at a time, other people mosey past the little girl, close enough to see her in detail, then beeline for the gate to the small dog side, summoning their fluffy friends. All pretense was lost when a massive Malamute named Yogi came into the small dog area. The last person in the all dog area was a very nice older lady, looked like someone's grandma. She walked over to the little girl and gives her a big smile and asks if she can see something really quickly. Little girl agrees, and the grandma gently grabs her chin and tilts her head back to get a better look. Grandma stands up and thanks the little girl for being such an angel, and then she walks over to the mother and says, "I was a nurse for 25 years. Your daughter is sick and might go blind if she doesn't see a doctor." Then she summons her schnoodle named Grumpy, who looks like a grumpy old man but is the sweetest dog ever, and they join the rest of us for frolicking. Once Grandma joins us in the small dog area, it's just the woman, the man, the little kid, and their cute beagle pupper in the all dog area. I'd like to say they took the hint and left with dignity, but there was a whole tantrum about how the girl's fine and we're all being buttholes. The parting shot from the mother, who was being ignored, was to me. "I hope you're effing happy. You just ruined her whole day." OP added an edit at the end. It says, "Guess who just woke up with pink eye?" It was me, not the floof. Oh, I'm kind of disappointed I did this one. I'm the kind of person where you can say something like lice or pink eye, and I'm all of a sudden scratching my head or rubbing my eyes for the rest of the night. Thanks a lot, OP. Really appreciate it. In all seriousness though, I feel really bad for that girl. That mother is not qualified to have a child. Check out all 3 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.